Good up.
This is Channel 253.
On this episode of the Grit and Grain podcast.
Creating spaces for community. It sounds like you're really
I think
really
that's
good at that.
Well,
part,
that's absolutely what we want. Like I think that's our artistic expression. My wife and I, and we are hosts at heart, and we love curating that experience and creating spaces where people can have their own personal experiences that are just comfortable and warm, and they might not know why they're having the experience they're having, but all of the different variables that go into just like a comfortable environment are constantly on our minds.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you.
Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, where we explore and celebrate the craft beer industry, community, and history in Tacoma, Washington, and surrounding Pacific Northwest areas. Thank you so much for hanging out. Let's get to it. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Grit and Grain podcast, coming to you guys from Peaks and Pints in Tacoma, Washington. My name is Matt McLaren. I'm here, as always, with Ron Swarner.
Well, hello.
How's it going, Ron?
Looking forward to getting buzzed today. In every way.
Oh, in every, multiple kinds of buzz today,
Yes.
for sure. Bethany, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you guys?
Good.
Good.
Doug's on mic. How's it going, Doug?
Greetings. Excellent.
Excellent.
Greetings.
So we're smack dab in the middle of Tacoma Beer Week. And as we've kind of talked about, we've been doing kind of a series on the collab beers that we've been running for Tacoma Beer Week, and that's what we're talking about today. Ron, I think it even has the amber on that we talked about a few weeks ago.
The amber, the otter, the narrows.
Yeah, dude.
The E9.
Perfect. You got them all on.
I am all on right now.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Middle of Tacoma Beer Week, and we have two special episodes today. This first one is one I'm very excited for. We have talked to business owners around Tacoma in the past, and I'm very excited to talk to this particular one because he's been running a great beer business in Tacoma and now runs 3 fantastic separate businesses in Tacoma. Dusty from Lander Coffee, State Street, and Wiley. How's it going, dude?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Totally. Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah.
That's a lot of businesses.
Some would say too many.
Would you say too many today?
Today.
Yeah, totally.
I got it at that point, yeah.
This is awesome, and we haven't, I don't think we spilled a ton of details on this particular project. So I'm going to just, since we're all kind of drinking it, we can talk about it. Ron, what are you drinking? Are you drinking
I'm drinking
our beer?
our beer
All right.
and Dusty's cold brew.
Dusty's cold brew. Okay, perfect. Bethany?
Same.
Same. Plus some Fruit Loop. Doug, what are you drinking?
All in.
Awesome.
Beer Week all in.
Beer Week all in.
It's very nice. Very nice.
And then did you grab one of the beers, Dusty?
I did, yeah.
Awesome. So it's a double header episode today. And this collab is actually between us, Dusty at Lander Coffee, and then also Logan Brewing. So we went up to Logan. If you guys follow our social media, we had an awesome brew day up there about a month ago and brewed this very particular beer that is actually based on a coffee that Dusty makes. So this is No Bad Time Black IPA, or CDA. And we've talked about Logan's Black IPA before. I've gushed about this beer. I think it's delicious, and I think the way that they do it is brings out all the cool stuff in a black IPA that I think relates to like really good single origin coffee. And Dusty happens to make very good single origin coffee as a roaster. So we made this beer specifically to mimic the flavors of, what is the coffee, Dusty?
This is a Nueva Montana.
Yeah.
It's a natural processed Guatemalan coffee.
Right. You told me that you buy the entire crop of this, right?
We did, yeah. I mean, it's a very small lot, so
Right.
it's not a lot to buy it.
Sure.
It's probably about 600 pounds. So
Right.
it's a lot of coffee, but as far as whole lots go, it's not too much.
Right. But because you hoarded it all to yourself.
Yeah,
it's
we
one of the
yeah.
only places
I
you
mean,
can actually buy this coffee.
Yeah, we tasted it 4 years ago now, and every year we just have to have it. It's our
Yeah.
favorite crop that comes in, and it's delicious.
It is. This is actually one of the coolest coffees that I've tried. And some Guatemalan coffee is similar to this, but this has like these really bright, like strawberry, raspberry, a lot of chocolate, a little bit of like caramel and brown sugar. All of those flavors and aromas can be replicated with just beer ingredients. Everybody puts coffee into beer, and it's almost always fantastic unless you end up with a green pepper bomb, which does happen. I wanted to make a beer that was inspired by this coffee, but didn't have any of the coffee in it. And so that's where No Bad Time came from. Hopefully, if you guys have been listening to the podcast, you've heard No Bad Time to visit Tacoma.
There's not.
There's not, especially this week. So that's what this is. And we're going to talk a whole bunch about it, especially when the Logan guys are on. But the whole idea was that we wanted something that tasted exactly like this coffee. And we got pretty fucking close. Pretty happy with it.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a million things to ask you because you run 3 very different businesses in this town. But your first one was State Street Beer Company, right?
Yep.
Okay. So can you tell us about State Street a little bit?
Yeah, I guess it's been about 8 years now. Yeah, we had been coming down to Tacoma for a while. My wife and I, we met in Seattle, even though neither of us are from there. And we were feeling kind of stuck in Seattle and wanted our own thing and wanted to just settle down and hang out somewhere for a while. So we came down to Tacoma pretty regularly for a couple of years, just looking for the right space to open a coffee shop. And that spot never really popped up. But one day, the space adjacent to Bluebeard opened up. And we had kind of observed the community that existed at Bluebeard and felt like it was a really cool place that we felt like we wanted to also be a part of. And that we were, at the time in Seattle, I was working for Old Stove Brewing. And we had learned a lot of kind of like how to do front and back of house as like minimally staffed as possible.
Sure.
So in that size space, we thought I was, I guess I would say feeling a little crazy. Like, you know, we were expecting a kid and we felt like this urgency to do something. And so we decided just to like dive in and just like be the only people working there as long as we could until a kid came along. And,
crazy indeed.
That
yeah,
is
it was
crazy.
absolutely crazy. I don't know. There's
The definition.
something about like,
My throat clenched up when you said it.
I know, yeah, like I didn't, yeah, I don't know, something about having that kid on the way that accelerated a lot of our plans and our dreams for having a family and like establishing something before he got here. And so yeah, State Street was kind of like this. It was never our intention. It was never something that we had dreamed of, but it seemed like it was a good fit for that space in that neighborhood and served the community in a similar way that Bluebeard did, just at the other end of the day.
I was gonna say, just at different times of the day.
And so, we quickly grew into that community and really we met the neighborhood, and we have been so grateful for the community that has just started to thrive there. And
seriously,
yeah, we're grateful for Bluebeard for having established that before we got here, and for being kind to us and welcoming us in when they did. So.
I do respect that you were like, oh, I want to open a coffee shop, but there's nothing really available. Let's open up a business right by a coffee shop.
Right,
This is as close as we can get right now.
Yeah. Right. It's the same culture, really.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and we didn't serve pizza when we first opened. It was kind of just intended to be a beer and wine. We did like flatbread pizza, but it was not the full like production we're doing now.
When you and I first met, you were just testing them out. And you gave me one. You were like, hey, tell me if this sucks or not. It was great.
I still don't believe you, but and then COVID kind of changed everything over there. So just out of necessity to survive, we started doing full-on pizza. And my friend, I used to work at Delancey in Seattle. He was kind enough to kind of show me the ropes and give us his pizza dough recipe. And
that's awesome.
We've adapted it a little bit to our space and the ingredients that have been more readily available to us. But he really saved our asses there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how was COVID for State Street? Like,
it was awful.
I know it was awful, like for sure. Honestly, like I was just talking to somebody about how Tacoma kind of got really lucky, where like you know, there wasn't a lot of really dense closures. There was certainly some, and that sucks. But like a lot of people were able to kind of adapt and survive in a way. And how do you feel like you guys managed to do that?
It was just a lot of sacrifice. We pivoted real hard. I know that word is the word of it, but we had no choice. We tried to do our normal menu for a couple months, and it was just nothing. Like we weren't serving. Nobody wants to come pick up a flatbread and take it back to their house. And, you know. So yeah, it was just I was working at Lander every single morning. We were open like 7 to 1, I think, and then I would go over to State Street and I would portion dough, make dough for the next day, and then like slice meats, and then either my dad or my brother would be there with me, and occasionally Kyle, who owns Naomi Joe Coffee now, he would help out, and so it was just kind of like whoever wanted to come hang out and make pizza with me that night would, and then we just did that for a year and a half.
God,
so. Yeah, it was pretty nuts. But
blessed by good family.
Absolutely. Yeah, we so many things that got us through that if we didn't have, we wouldn't have been able to make it. But yeah.
You've always had a well-crafted tap list too.
Thank you.
Just every one of them just hits the mark.
Oh yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Jenny's like, yeah, I honestly I would agree with that. I dropped State Street a lot. I think there are like there's kind of like different categories of like craft beer shops, and there are some that like have really big tap lists, and there's like always something for everybody, and that's totally fine. Ron's a good example. Like he puts stuff on that you've probably seen on tap for a long time, and he also puts stuff on that you've never seen, and then he puts stuff on where like you or me or some of the other nerds in this room are like, holy shit, why do you have that on tap? Like Jester King recently. But then there's spots that are like, it's a smaller tap list, but it's so clearly like very intentionally curated. Cool, and I always put State Street kind of in that category. Edison was like that, like Rusty Goat's like that too. Like relatively small tap list that like everything on there is like, God damn, man. Like I literally don't know what to drink because I only have an hour here.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. So what year, I fucking shifting over to coffee now.
Great, let's do it.
So you initially, and you and I had talked about this, you initially wanted to open up a coffee shop. That was like your bag from the beginning.
Yeah, that was the dream.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, we still always had our, we were watching every retail space around town and then just constantly keeping our ear to the ground for something that might potentially open up, because that's what we knew we wanted to do next. And we would always drive by the Rustic Aristocrat, and we always were just like, man, that space has so much potential. Like, it was definitely already there, serving a community, had existed as a coffee spot for a while, but it just never felt like that warm of a place to be. Like it wasn't a place that you'd necessarily want to spend the whole day, or like you would go to like hopefully run into somebody that you knew. And we felt like it would be a perfect spot for what we were hoping to create as far as having a community cafe. And so we emailed them one day and we're like, hey, we love your spot. We'd love to be on your short list of contacts if you're ever interested in selling. And then like 20 minutes later, they emailed us back. They're like, yeah, sure, when you want it. And then, and
ask for what you want.
I guess so. It was crazy. Yeah, we were not expecting that. We had also just found out that we were pregnant with our second child.
Dude, your track record's so far.
I know, yeah, it's not great. So this new business has felt like a piece of cake. We didn't have a kid this time, and so we took over that spot and then opened it in August. The last week of August of 2019.
Yeah. Sick.
A great time to open any business. And then my daughter was born 6 weeks later. And then it was starting to just like really go well. And then
for
it stopped.
Like a couple of weeks.
For like maybe a month and a half. We were like, okay, cool, we can do this. And like, this is going to be good. And then, and then we had to, we unfortunately had to lay off everybody just because we didn't know how busy we were going to be. And
for sure.
just was there making espresso every morning.
Yeah.
And hoping that people, we have this little back room off the back of the cafe that's on Anderson Street. So it's like right next to the dumpster. And there's this little window there. And we moved the espresso machine into this back room that was like 8 by 12 room. Mm-hmm. So we moved a fridge and an espresso machine back there. And then I had a little 1 pound roaster that I was roasting for the week. So I was roasting and making espresso and serving people out this like tiny little like 6-inch or like just enough space to slide a 16-ounce cup out of it,
like a bank teller, like
just like, and the room is actually below the sidewalk grade, so like it's like reaching up to slide a little 16-ounce cup.
Jesus.
And like
you're a little kid at a lemonade stand.
Pretty much, yeah. And we like everybody has masks on, and I have a coffee roaster on right behind me, and so like we're just screaming out the window like, "What can I get you today?" Like,
Oh yeah. It's so and you can't leave this thing because you ruin this coffee.
And you can't hear out of anybody's masks anyway. Like it was a weird time. But
Dusty, I'm curious what's your morning routine at home? I imagine it's not Folgers and Mr. Coffee.
Oh no.
Do you go all out before you go to work?
Absolutely not. Yeah, no.
You do it at work.
At work, yeah. I don't know. We're pretty simple. We just do a French press. We like the ritual and like waking up slow and kind of waiting for that coffee to be ready. But we don't want it to be that complicated. It's just like grind it, pour some hot water on it, and then set a timer. And then, hopefully hear the timer when it goes off.
If you're not awake, I mean,
trying to get a second grader and a pre-K ready for school every morning.
Jesus.
It's fun. Our life is very fun and very busy.
And I feel like Bethany relates. She also runs a business with Greer, with 2 little kiddos of similar age.
Yeah. I want to do more French press. I don't do a good routine now. I don't want to wait so long. I know it's just so.
Totally.
How did you get into coffee?
It was my second job after Cold Stone. I got a job at Starbucks, and I worked there that was in high school when I was 16. And I worked for Starbucks for 5 years, and then I, ended up getting a job at more boutique shop in Boulder, Colorado, and that kind of showed me what coffee could be, and it opened a little bit of a gateway there. And just seeing the care for coffee and like crafting individual cups rather than just like hitting a button and then everything coming out of the same machine. And I moved to Seattle after college and got sucked into coffee shops there, and that's back when it was like you could live off a coffee shop job pretty well, and Amazon didn't exist. And it was fun. Like you could have a fun life in Seattle by just being a barista. It was great.
I can't imagine leaving Boulder though. Why did you?
Well, it was home. I mean, like.
Okay. You're done.
It's just like. Everybody, like, you can't go anywhere without running into someone that you went to high school with, and it didn't have its luster anymore. And I mean, Boulder is incredible. Like,
it's beautiful.
I love it there so much.
Estes Park is amazing.
It's also very expensive, and so you can't really. I mean, as much as we dream about going there again, it's not really an option. But,
I'm curious. It's funny to hear starting off at Starbucks and then moving over. Where did you say it was in Boulder?
It was a shop called Pico.
So it was like Starbucks was like the entrance, and you kind of were just like, okay, this is a job. And then you got to Pico, and it was like, okay, like I can actually do something legit with this. Like I can learn how to make a good cup of coffee. Do you feel like the affinity for like good cups of coffee translated over into like nice glasses of beer?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with anything, when you are exposed to kind of the next tier of it, or the, like someone opens your mind a little bit about what you're tasting, then you kind of start applying that to everything. And so, yeah, I mean, in Boulder, the only thing anybody ever drank and ever had on tap was Dale's Pale Ale. So that was kind of my first exposure, and it's just everything. No matter where you went, that's all that was on tap for a while. And then left hand, like the Nitro Milk Stout. But to me, that was local beer. And then I get out here, and I'm just like, why is this still everywhere?
It's tasty.
Both of those were my fault. At least partially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's fun. I mean, that's just how we're very food and beverage driven at my house. And with everything, it's just like, how do we add flavor to this? How do we make this taste better? How come this doesn't taste like we want? And I don't know, with everything, even if it's like just crackers that you bought at the store, you're like picking it apart and you're like, why doesn't taste the way that one tastes? And
that's fun.
Meanwhile,
I probably do that shit too.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. Yeah, and so go ahead.
Are you where are you roasting at?
We
the
roast
Lander
at
spot?
Lander, yeah,
okay.
in
Right
that
there.
tiny back room that we were.
Okay.
We have a larger roaster now, thankfully, so we're not, cranking out 1 pound every 15 minutes. We can do 10 pounds now, so that saves a little bit of time.
How do you know how long to roast? Like, how do you decide the roasts and the style or the variety of beans?
It's to taste, basically. There's a lot of trial and error with every crop that comes in, and even every season. Like that Nueva, we have had it every year for the last 4 years, and it's a different bean. Even though like it's pretty similar, it's the same trees that these coffee cherries are growing on, but every year it's a little bit different. Has a different moisture content, just different density based on the season of the growing season in Guatemala. So yeah, you kind of get it, and you have to re-meat that coffee and roast it, however many different ways until you get it tasting exactly like you want.
Fun. It's a fun process.
It is fun,
hard.
yeah. It's too much coffee. You have
Too much of a good thing.
Yeah, it's too much. Yeah, those days are like, I can't spit it out like most people do in the cupping. I just I just don't want to do that. So I end up ingesting all of it, and I'm just trembling at the end of a cupping session. So we try to stagger when our coffees come in, so I'm not just like drinking 90 cups of coffee on one day.
Sure. That's like me on wine tastings.
Yeah,
I don't spit anything.
Yeah, don't
10
spit that
you're
out.
on.
Someone worked hard for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't spit that out.
100% me at sales meeting. Every time.
What do you think is unique about the Tacoma coffee community? Is it as tight as it seems?
It's pretty tight.
We have a lot of roasters here. I
There
think.
are.
Like it's pretty dense
Yeah.
with like small craft roasters.
That's
for
what-
such a small place.
Yeah, that's what I feel like is unique, is that most shops roast their own coffee.
which is crazy.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's awesome because there's a lot of diversity in that, and it's representative of who is serving that coffee and who like runs those shops, and it's really cool because like you can kind of see personalities reflected in how the coffee comes out on the other end, and I think that's awesome, because Tacoma is super diverse, and why wouldn't our coffee and beer scene be too?
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I think that's really cool. I mean, it's in Seattle, anywhere else really. There's like kind of a primary roaster that serves or distributes to most of the local cafes, and so it's just kind of the same thing everywhere, even if it just like has different vibes inside. But yeah, in Tacoma, people can choose based on the coffee, not necessarily on the vibes. So it's like really is a place for everybody to find their coffee community, and yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for anybody who's not familiar too, so like Dusty was just saying, there are like, if you go to like a major metropolitan area, there might be like one or two big kind of long-standing coffee roasters that might do a house blend for every coffee shop or a different roast for everybody. So Tacoma, or like I should say like a lot of South Sound, Pierce County does have that, Delano's, DCR coffee. Yeah. And it's like, the thing is it's good. They do a great job. They've been around for like 30 years, 35 years. So like they're big now. But even with access to that, which is like relatively easy and inexpensive for a lot of coffee shops, and that's great, there is still a ton of diversity, which is awesome. Like it means that roasters are choosing to open up here and do their own thing in spite of having access to like pretty good, pretty inexpensive stuff not too far from them. And that's awesome. That's like a choice that you have to make as a business owner, and it's a risk every single time. And like, I love the fact that all of Tacoma is like, yeah, I want 10 different people making 10 different coffees all the time. Yeah. And whatever I'm feeling, I'm going to drive past one of the other ones and go to this one, and it might change. Totally. Yeah, we're lucky for that, man. I mean, it's very similar to, honestly, like the brewery scene.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's so many parallels, like thinking about, listening to you talk and stuff. There's just lots of parallels between coffee and beer.
Yeah.
Is someone making beer over a campfire?
Yeah. It's Quincy over there.
Quincy might, man. Yeah. That dude's busy all the time.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. When we get back, I do want to talk a little bit more about this particular coffee.
Cool. And the third business.
And your third business that just opened. So hang out for just a second. We're going to refill beer. We'll be right back.
Hello, this is Eric Hanberg, host of Citizen Tacoma and a co-founder of Channel 253.
And this is Doug Mackey, the sound producer and also a co-founder of Channel 253 and host of Off the Record.
Channel 253 is about Tacoma and things that are interesting to Tacomans, and we are here for you, our local residents, to tell you what's happening in your community with food, elected officials, politics, all sorts of other things.
Beer, for heaven's sakes. And what say you gals may be on again, too. You never know.
So we are asking for your support to keep the microphones going. $4 a month or $40 a year helps us with a membership. You can go to channel253.com/membership to find out more.
And if you're a member already, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for hanging out during the break. As always, a quick shout out to Doug, our wonderful producer, who makes us sound awesome every single week, and to Chris for putting us on video. If you guys haven't yet, please go over to YouTube and subscribe to the Great and Grain podcast. It's awesome. You can sit there and watch us do this whole thing live, and you can have a beer and pretend like you're getting...
See Doug's beard.
Yeah. Doug, your beard is getting pretty lush, man. I like it.
There's no stopping it. Because I don't care anymore.
You're like, no matter how much.
Yeah, it's just going to be wider and wider.
I don't care anymore. I know. The bib.
It's like a spade shaped. It's like
and I don't care.
It's a king's beard.
I don't care.
King's beard.
It's just functional at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if you, I know you guys heard it on the break, but go check out Channel 253. It's absolutely fantastic. Network of local podcasts from local folks talking about local stuff that should be important to you, and it's fantastic. How's the food podcast going, Doug?
It's going great.
Yeah.
You can put cheese in ramen, and it's okay.
Absolutely, you can.
I've done that.
Yeah. Roy Choi ramen, baby.
Yeah, you can do it.
Huh. What kind of cheese?
Yeah,
American cheese makes spicy ramen better. 100%.
just like one one slice.
A little controversial.
Like singles?
Yep. Take a Kraft single, put it in your ramen, stir it up.
Okay.
100%. It's the middle of Tacoma Beer Week. We have all kinds of awesome stuff going on. Talking to Dusty from State Street, and tune in for the next one next week. I guess it would be for the Logan guys who are coming on in a little bit. Speaking of events, next week is also the beginning of Restaurant Week in Tacoma, which is awesome. We're butting Beer Week up right up against Restaurant Week. But also, Bethany's doing some shit.
Oh, yeah, I was just thinking that, the restaurant week, that's great. Everyone's going to be real hungover, and then they just eat for a whole week.
That's a good point.
From Tacoma Beer Week.
Yeah. What are you doing next week?
Yeah, I'm doing a Drunk Herstory, which is based on... it's based on the show Drunk History, and it's a bunch of really cool females putting a show on for everyone up at Stoop this year.
A strictly
Drinking.
historical show.
Yeah,
that
not
is
a
very
kid.
informational, no fun.
Yeah, Jesus, Bethany.
No fun involved.
You had one job.
Well, it's my first time doing it, so I mean,
Fair enough.
Yeah, it was my first time getting invited, but that'll.
Do you know
happen.
who your partner is yet?
Yeah, Stacy.
Stacy? Oh,
Also my employee, so
that's fair.
she's great. She's been pulling her weight and mine too, because she's done this before, so she's like done a lot of the stuff I owe her.
She's amazing.
Wrote the script and all that, but yeah, I'm really excited, and
I'm pretty sure it's 100% sold out, right?
It is sold out, yeah, but there is going to be a live streaming accessibility. If you, I think, follow on Instagram, like there'll be some live streaming places you can go to like watch what we're doing.
There's a few breweries who are hosting like big screen like live streams of Drunk Herstory, so you guys can follow Drunk Herstory and see who's doing that. because those will be just as much fun.
Yeah.
It is fucking hilarious. If you can't be there live, you should absolutely watch it. My face usually hurts for days from laughing that entire time. Yeah. And yeah, you'll have time to check it out when this episode comes out. We all have new beer in front of us. What is this, Ron?
It's 7 Seas bourbon barrel aged barley wine.
Perfect choice for Tacoma Beer Week.
Exactly.
I actually haven't had this beer in quite some time. Was this out of a bottle or off draft?
Draft.
Oh, okay, good.
It's the first time I've had it on draft. But
Oh, really?
We've had bottles since it started.
Delicious.
Really good.
That's actually like one of 7 Seas best beers, honestly.
It's really nice.
There's a couple of good barley wines in Tacoma, and this is up there, man.
Dusty, do you enter coffee competitions?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not what it's about, Ron.
Come on, Ron. Yeah, I don't know. I do not necessarily like attention.
Oh, dude, sorry, man. No. This is a huge mistake.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not necessarily accolade driven. I just like to make what I like to drink, and if other people like it also and show up, then those are my people.
Nice.
So that's just kind of how we operate.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Have you thought about like doing any like professional certification on the coffee side? I don't think a lot of people know, but there are sommeliers and cicerones for wine and beer. There's actually kind of a similar program for coffee. Have you ever done anything like that?
No.
No?
What's it called?
It's like Q graders.
It's a Q graders,
Yeah.
or Q program. So a master Q is similar to like a master sommelier. Similar type of program too. You take exams for it. You do taste tests. I think there's 500 maybe in the country. It's like still pretty rare to reach that certification level. But yeah, it's very similar.
Yeah.
And it's like very, like a lot of diligent study for probably years to get to that level.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and it's a lot of commitment. Just tasting, and yeah, I mean, I love it. I love it, and I respect the people that have the time to commit to that.
Yep. But I own 3 businesses.
Yeah, and I really don't know if there's anything I just take that seriously. That I'm just like, oh, I need to like know everything about this. I'm like, I kind of dive in to the point of where I feel like I am enjoying my experience, and I kind of just like live there.
Nice.
Yeah, just I think it's effective to not getting burned out as easily.
Totally. There's kind of freedom in that.
Yeah, totally.
And creating spaces for community. It sounds like you're really
I think
really
that's
good at that.
Well,
part,
that's absolutely what we want. Like I think that's our artistic expression. My wife and I, and we are hosts at heart, and we love curating that experience and creating spaces where people can have their own personal experiences that are just comfortable and warm, and they might not know why they're having the experience they're having, but all of the different variables that go into just like a comfortable environment are constantly on our minds of how do we make a place for people to just love best, and like just be happy even though they don't know why they're happy, or be comfortable and they don't know why they're comfortable. And that's ultimately, I think that's like maybe the thing we take most seriously is.
Yeah.
I feel that way every time I'm in that little nook at State Street.
Oh yeah.
I love that place.
The date.
It's so comfortable.
It's been renamed several times over the years. It was like the sexy booth, and then it was the date booth because it was like online dates just happening constantly in there. But then
That's so sick.
we witnessed one couple break up in that booth, and so since it's been the breakup booth.
Oh, sad. Well, yearn for the days where it's the sexy booth again.
Yeah, I think we should go back to at least one of them. Yeah. We enjoy calling it the breakup.
I want a part-time job just for that people watching experience, honestly.
Yeah.
Do you? So that sentiment in general is awesome. I grew up not really being much of a host. My wife very much is, and I've kind of learned to sort of like show love, kind of adopting that sort of trait. Do you feel like you just said, you're not really accolade driven? do you feel like learning how to make good coffee and then like curating really strong like beer lists, really good food are all just tools to the end of like making people feel comfortable?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the things that are coming out of our businesses are just the things I like. So, which maybe that's a little bit selfish, but it's like if my mouth likes it, then I feel okay about serving it. So I'm a little bit picky about that aspect of it, but it's mostly just because, you know, if I'm creating a space that I want other people to like, then I have to feel like I like it too. And that's where we start. And then once it gets to that point, then that's just like a cog in the system of like, I think that's just one small part of the overall experience. Like a lot of people do come because they like the tap list or they like the pizza or whatever, but it feels like mostly people come because they're going to run into somebody they know, or they're going to like be able to bounce over to Bluebeard and see someone over there that they know, or like they can bring their kids in and just have a moment of like having a beer and a pizza and then like get back out in the stroller and head out. And it's just become part of people's day, and we love being part of people's day.
Yeah.
Just because it can just infuse a little bit of like ease into their experience and just like comfort, and let them go on and maybe just like not know why they feel better or happier or whatever, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And now with the new business, you've added bicycles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Are you an expert in bicycles now?
Oh man, no, I'm not.
But your dad is.
Are you a bicycle cicerone yet?
Yeah, bicycle cicerone. Okay, there's not a grading system.
No, there's not.
We need
Probably
to,
for the
we need
best.
to create that. No, I mean, yeah. That has been like, you know, bicycles have been, for as long as I can remember, there's just been this unhealthy obsession with them. And I remember like being 8 years old and getting my first stump jumper, specialized mountain bike, like tiny red frame, and then leaning it against my mom's Jeep out front of our house. And I'm like, yeah, that's the coolest thing that's ever been made. And just
That's
like,
such a real feeling as a
yeah,
kid, dude.
and you just like, since then, whatever iteration of bike has been in my house or my garage, or Alicia caught me just the other day. She's like, you're staring at your bike. You're not doing anything else. Like, you're not riding it. You're not doing the dishes.
That's the real issue. Could you be productive?
I was just standing there staring at it. And so it's I don't know, it's like such a, that the bicycle is the most perfect thing in my mind that has ever been created by man. Aside from my children, of course. Yeah.
Debatable.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
I mean, that was created by a woman, technically. So
Yeah, exactly. You're good. You're good.
I'm okay.
Man can have bicycles.
Yeah.
Women have babies.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. See, I told you I was going to get in trouble.
Yeah, you almost made it the whole way, too.
No, yeah. I remember just Sundays after church was like, you go to the bike shop on the way home and sit there, and I tool around like as a kid while my dad, you know, buys a new part every week.
Yep.
And yeah, it's always been a part of my weekly routine, and I've always ridden them, and I've just, yeah, it's the absolute passion. It's the original passion, I would say. And having a bike shop exclusively has always felt a little too risky for something that I was willing to take on. But the idea of like bike shop and cafe, you have that support over the winter when no one's buying bikes, and keeps you from having to, you know, wax skis and sell all, transition your whole business to survive over the winter.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to deal with skiers either.
Yeah.
More snowboarders, though. They're great.
That's probably worse. Oh, they're better? Mason just learned how to snowboard, so.
How long have the doors been open at Wiley?
A little over 2 months.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been.
It's got beer and coffee and wine.
Yep. So
and
it's like
bike stuff.
the same menu as Lander in the mornings, and then we also have 8 taps. That's
Of
doing basically
fantastic
the
beer
same
as
thing.
usual.
Well, thank you. And we're doing some like happy hour snacks. It's kind of like OG State Street menu, minus flatbreads. And then, just having like an all-day space. We started a cycling, my buddy Nick Casanova and I, and our friend Chris Balashiotas, we did STP a few years, I guess it was only 2 years ago now.
One day or two?
We did it in 2, yeah. I think I'd like to try it in 1, though. Yeah.
You should break that down for people who are not familiar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, totally. So it's Seattle to Portland bicycle ride happens every year. It's like the second week of July. And you ride, obviously, from Seattle to Portland, which is about 208 miles. And then most riders, I think they had 6,000 riders the year we did it.
It's crazy.
We stop halfway, which is like the Chehalis area, and people camp or
the Red Lion.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and have like, I mean, that's a lot. It's like 100 miles first day, 108 the second day.
It's crazy.
And so most people do it in over 2, and then there are a select crazy few who do it in 1. So we had just found like a group of friends that wanted to do this together, and we started riding weekly, training to be ready to do this for, we decided in January that was our goal. By July we'd be able to do this ride. And so it's created this kind of group ride, community ride of people training, and then it became more official over the summer, and then we named it Rapido, and we've been riding pretty much every Saturday since, and we have I don't know, between 10 and 40 riders, depending on the weather.
That's awesome.
Which has been really awesome. And that was like a lot of exposure to how many of the like crazy bike riders there are. Like sometimes, I mean, like I know how crazy I can be.
Right.
But then when you start talking bikes and you see people just come out of the woodwork and you're like, oh, there's a lot of us, like a lot of crazy people.
Probably because of COVID, because didn't a lot of bikes be bought?
Totally, yeah. There were tons of people picked up cycling during COVID. And so, we just started just meeting people from all over the city, and people started coming from Gig Harbor and coming from Auburn and Puyallup, and we gained a lot of momentum with Rapido, and just realizing how kind of underserved the Tacoma cycling community is, with only having a couple shops, and one of which, Old Town, was purchased by Trek a couple years ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Which was a big blow, because there were a lot of brands that Old Town carried that Trek then just kind of like got rid of.
Yeah.
And suddenly there's not the representation for those brands, and there's a ton of people who ride those brands of bikes, and people are pretty loyal to their shops, to their brands that they have. And so that kind of opened the door for us. So we started looking, and found the spot almost simultaneously with Trek buying them. So it was felt a little serendipitous.
Sure.
And my dad and I have talked about having a bike shop, kind of coffee shop forever. Like I feel like that's been his dream since I was a kid. But, raising 3 kids in Boulder, Colorado is not necessarily the cheapest thing to do. So I can't do that and have a bike shop. So he retired from Microsoft a few years ago, and we felt like we were ready to make it happen. And he's been wrenching for us so far, and it's been a lot of fun.
I see him in there every time I come.
It's
literally back there, just
it's so fun.
He's living his dream.
Hell yeah.
Living his dream.
So where's the shop located? I don't know where it's at. I'm out of the loop.
6th and Prospect. So it's actually just 3 blocks down from State Street on the same side of 6, on the north side of 6.
Yeah.
It's where Ruston Mercantile used to be.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Got it.
Which was there for a long time.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, like, the vibes are fucking awesome. And it's like there's this kind of distinct cut down the middle, and it's like legit just straight up bike shop on this side. Yeah. Although I do like that you have your tap list like on the bike shop side. Yeah. That's like, I love that. You kind of just blend it a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
Hey, while you're waiting.
Yeah, I mean, we'll change your flat real quick and you want a beer while you're at it. Yeah. It's great.
Is it kid friendly as well? Or 21?
It is. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, everything we do is kid friendly. And that's mostly just because we have to be able to take our kids.
Yeah.
We get called in, at the most random times. And sometimes you have your kid and you're just like, all right, we got to go in here and I got to be able to take you in here. So, but also, I mean, we have such a large community of parents of young children that, we love that, how much we hear that it just serves them and how they feel like so grateful to have a good, comfortable place to come. And I don't know.
They have to find a babysitter.
Right, yeah, exactly. They can come just have a beer and then leave. And yeah, it's pretty great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I have a coffee question.
Okay.
I know I said we were going to talk about this particular coffee a bit more. What's like one thing, and I've asked a few people this before, a few like roaster friends before, like what's one thing that you feel like non-coffee people or like, people who might not drink this coffee, what do you feel like is like one thing that they misunderstand pretty often about like better coffee?
Good question.
Man, that's tough. I would say my personal experience with coffee versus like bad coffee versus better coffee is all about mouthfeel, and that has to do with the amount of acid extracted during the brewing process. And so there is kind of a delicate balance of okay, let me start over. So when we brew our espresso, we have a recipe of like, we're going to take these beans, we're going to grind them, and have 18 grams of coffee that is ground. And then we want to extract from that 18 grams, we'd like to yield about 2 ounces of water, or 2 ounces of brewed espresso.
Right.
And so there's kind of, and then the other variable is what you're looking at is how long do you want that extraction to be? So most shoot for like an extraction time of like 23 to 27 seconds. And so like it's that extraction time, the exposure to that pressure and heat and water that will change how your coffee tastes. And like just like seconds can make a dramatic difference. So if something is under extracted, it's going to be sour and just kind of like feel underdeveloped, and you probably just taste it on the outside of your tongue. And then if it's over extracted, it's going to start like extracting that carbon and start tasting kind of dry and ashy,
tanniny kind of.
Yeah. So there is a sweet spot with every coffee, and every coffee is different. And that's kind of like the barista's job is to pay attention to your yield over a certain extraction time and kind of keep it in that ballpark throughout the day. And so, there's just that attention to detail and like making sure that you are hitting all your variables to get this like well-rounded, sweet, but not like ashy, roasty, but not sour espresso shot that's going to affect the rest, how you drink the rest of how.
So there's just way more that goes into it than.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like it seems simple, but like you should really be like weighing every shot and timing every shot and measuring every shot. And
it's almost the exact answer I've gotten before, actually. Is like it's some version of, you wouldn't believe how much work and effort and like focus we put into making this like a very good cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Like it is easy just to like slap a K-cup into a Keurig and like that's fine. But if you're somebody who like only drinks coffee with coconut creamer or whatever, and you just haven't had like a straight up shot of espresso or even just a single origin drip that is like well made, it really is night and day. Like it's just a huge difference. And that's, like I said, the consistent answer is we honestly put way more into this than you'd think to make the coffee as good as it can be.
Totally. It's not just like pushing a couple buttons. It's there's a lot of attention to detail.
Yep.
And then just like the process of like trial and error when you are figuring out when you're roasting and you're like, how does this roasted coffee, like this tastes good as drip, but like if I go put this on the espresso machine, is it going to do what I want? And then having to adjust like, or choose which coffees do what, or if like you're going to try to use the same coffee in different formats, you sometimes will roast it differently. To get the coffee to taste how you want on a like paper drip filter versus an espresso versus a cold brew. Like,
damn,
it's all different. And so you got to kind of be picky about what you're gonna do with that coffee? Like what format do you expect it to be mostly used in? And then try to like just cater it that way. It's like, oh yeah, this is as good as espresso. This is good as French press. This is good as cold brew. So.
And then you add vanilla and caramel.
Yeah, exactly. 20 ounces of milk.
I put a scoop of ice cream in it.
Delicious. Yeah, it's the
Chocolate
best.
syrup too.
That keeps reminding me of like hops, where you take the hop and you help the hop express itself, kind of thing.
Yep.
It's like a very similar
It's its own
idea.
thing. Yeah, it really is.
You have to help it like bring the beverage out, not like you forcing it like into this place you want it to be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a lot of care.
That's my favorite version of like brewing is like, don't force the ingredients to do what you want. Just help them like, you know, come into themselves.
Help them be who they are. Yeah.
It is fuck up story time.
All right, Grit and Grainers, I'm Sean Jackson, and I fuck up all the God-blessed time, as we all do. So, please do regale us with your fuck up stories.
It's exactly what it sounds like.
God, I didn't
All right, so I know I didn't prep you for this. So, as much as we can help
I
it,
need a couple more beers.
as much as we can help it, we try to see if somebody will drop a fuck up story for us. So, in general, the gold standard is: have you ever almost died at work?
At work? Oh, interesting.
You're like, not at work, but I've been riding bikes for a long time.
Or start 3 businesses with 2 kids.
I'm perpetually almost dying.
I cut off a Domino's delivery driver when I was 16. Yeah, that's the Sean Jackson standard, is almost dying at work. But if you have fucked up in general and you feel like sharing, now's the time.
In just an almost
Not in
dying
general,
format.
but I mean
whatever
whatever you want.
Yeah, on a daily basis.
The perfect.
Oh man, I mean I've cut my thumb off with a table saw, but that wasn't almost dying.
Would you still
Wait.
wait, you have a bandage right now, bro.
Sounds like
Yeah, this is it.
That just happened?
No, you can see.
What are you
it's
doing here?
I have a little one, a little thumb. It's just.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, dang.
It
It's
doesn't
true.
bend
What
were
anymore.
you
But that's
building?
That's not dying.
No, that's, I mean,
It's close
enough.
yeah.
Yeah, go
Okay,
for it. Go
cool.
for it.
You,
Tell
you
us.
took a fingertip
tell
off,
us.
right?
No, yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, I guess this is my trauma story. Like, if I have a physical trauma story, this is it. It would be. So my wife and I, this was before, way before kids. We did like kind of seasonal pop-ups. She actually went before we were dating. She made jewelry, and she like made rings and all kinds of really amazing things.
Cool.
And she did some leather work. And after we started dating, we were gonna have a pop-up together, and I was more on the woodworking end of the spectrum, like I was dabbling, I guess, if you will. And I was. We were getting ready for a pop-up that we were gonna have for holidays. That was gonna be at this coffee shop that we worked at in Seattle, and I was making these wooden spoons that were shaped like hands. And
Thumbless hand.
I know. So you actually made one with 4 fingers, and you were like, I'm gonna have to. What would be easier than making a new spoon?
Right. I know the irony is very painful. Anyway, I was getting my blanks cut, like little 1/2-inch sections of this nice walnut that I had picked up, and I was getting a little greedy. I got down to the last section, and I was like, I could probably get 2 more pieces out of this, and I was pushing it through, and it kicked back on me, and I was just generally being dumb, and just being overly confident. Anyway, thumb ended up going straight through the blade.
Ooh.
And
The blade went through the thumb.
I don't know. It's all yeah.
Yeah.
The thumb went.
I put my,
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
put
I
my
see what
money
you're saying.
on the blade.
And Yeah, that was fun.
So we'll be on the lookout for your new coffee shop / beer shop / bike shop / woodworking shop.
Woodworking shop. No. Those are all. The woodworking is in all of the shops already.
Oh, damn. Well, you still have all the rest of your fingers. So
yeah, I do.
I'm impressed.
Miraculously, after 3 other places. Yeah.
All right, Grit and Grainers, email us at cheers@gritgrainpodcast.com with your comments, opinions, and as you dutifully take your spot at the back of the line behind 15 other glazed-looking individuals, as you watch the person behind the counter toy with the temporary power he or she holds over your morning, you accept the truth. You're addicted to coffee. We read and drink everything we receive, and we try to respond as fast as we can, if not online, then on air. You can subscribe to Grit and Grain on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher, and please leave us a review. Also check us out on Channel 253 and Grit and Grain Podcast.com.
All right, fucking Mariah Carey over here.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook, MTV, Instagram, and YouTube for episode notes, beer news, and it's not that I've been in denial, as they say in rehab. Denial is not my strong suit. For years, I acknowledged my addiction with a cheery one-line toast, coffee, the last drug of my generation. Technically, of course, it isn't the last drug or even the last legal drug, but alcohol has been limited to non-pregnant, non-driving people in non-liver and life-destroying quantities. Smoking isn't banned, but banished to the doorways where community of folks look like they're having just too much fun. I don't mean to equate caffeine with drugs such as cocaine or to suggest the plot for Traffic 2, tracing little black beans from the heart of Costa Rica to a blissful shot in Tacoma. Coffee is culturally approved, universally accepted, socially enabled, and financially promoted. There's a fix on every corner. If this podcast is not what you expected, please alter your expectations. Technically, a vanilla soy latte is a 3-bean soup. No such thing as a bad time to visit Tacoma. No such thing as too much barley wine. Tune in next Friday for more sweet chatter. Cheers.
Thanks, Dusty.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
That was a good one.
Is that your own 3-bean
Three-bean
soup?
soup.
That's amazing.
So good.
Love it.
Thanks again for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us at Grit and Grain Podcast wherever you get your social media and catch new episodes every Friday. Cheers.
Get up.
Channel 253 is member supported. I'm producer Doug Mackey, and I hope you will show your support by going to channel253.com/membership and join. Thank you. Grit and Grain is part of the Channel 253 podcast network. Check out our other shows: Nerd Farmer, Move to Tacoma, Interchangeable White Ladies, What Say You, Citizen Tacoma, and Kitchen 253.
This is Channel 253.